Amara sat quietly outside her parents' big gated house, watching movers carry boxes and furniture into a brand new mansion across the street. The sun was hot, the air heavy with dust, and she could hear her mother laughing proudly as she gave the movers instructions. Her mother's voice rang out, full of pride. "Tasha deserves this house. She's getting married soon. We can't send our baby into the world empty-handed." Everyone smiled, clapping and congratulating Tasha, her younger sister, who stood there glowing in her designer dress. Amara stood a few feet away, silent, holding a small brown envelope her father had just given her. Inside it were $5 and a small note that read, "Thank you for being a good daughter." She read it twice, her throat tightening. Her father had smiled as if he had done something thoughtful, something fair. No one noticed the pain in her eyes. For a long moment, Amara just stood there, pretending to be okay. The laughter around her grew louder. The sound of a family celebrating. A sound she had never truly belonged to. Finally, she took a deep breath, forced a small smile, and whispered, "Thank you." Then she turned and began to walk away. The gravel crunched under her heels. Halfway down the road, she stopped, took off her shoes, and carried them in her hands. The road stretched ahead, long and dusty, lined with trees that swayed quietly in the evening wind. Her mind was spinning, not with anger, but with a deep, empty ache. How could her parents give her sister a mansion and give her only $5? How could love in a family feel so cold? Tears stung her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She kept walking, one step after another, trying to breathe through the heaviness in her chest. In her voiceover, she said softly, "I smiled, said thank you, and walked, because sometimes silence says more than shouting ever could." The world around her seemed to blur. The laughter, the house, the memory of her parents' proud faces. All of it faded as she disappeared down the road, her bare feet touching the warm earth. Then came the quiet, just her breathing, her steps, and the wind. And as the screen slowly faded to black, her voice returned, calm, distant, but full of weight. An hour later, everything they built came crashing down. The question hung in the air. What happened an hour later? What did she do? Amara had always been the quiet one in the family, the one who studied hard, followed rules, and never caused trouble. But in her parents' eyes, that was never enough. When she brought home good grades, her mother would smile faintly and say, "That's nice, dear," before turning to Tasha, who was twirling in a new dress or posing for pictures. "Now that's my beautiful girl," their mother would gush, clapping her hands proudly. From a young age, it was clear who shone in the family. Tasha's beauty was celebrated, her pictures framed and displayed in every corner of the house. Amara's certificates were tucked into drawers and forgotten. When their father had extra money, he used it to pay for Tasha's modeling classes, makeup, and trips. Amara never complained. She just worked harder, believing that one day her effort would make them proud. Years passed and nothing changed. When Amara got into college, her parents congratulated her quickly but didn't offer help. "You're strong," her father had said. "You'll figure it out." She did. She worked part-time jobs, stayed up late to study, and paid her own tuition. Tasha, meanwhile, had her parents' full support, new clothes, a car, and all the attention she could want. Now, years later, Amara lived in a small one-bedroom apartment on the edge of the city. It wasn't much, but it was hers. Every evening after work, she attended night classes, trying to finish her degree in interior design. She cooked simple meals, kept her space tidy, and tried not to think too much about the home she had left behind. Sometimes, though, she still caught herself wishing her parents would call, just to ask how she was doing, to say they were proud. But the phone rarely rang, and when it did, it was usually about Tasha. One Thursday evening, her mother called out of the blue. "Amara, we're having a family dinner on Sunday," she said. "Tasha's fiancé will be there. We have something important to share. Don't be late." Amara hesitated. Part of her wanted to refuse, but a small voice inside still hoped. Maybe this time would be different. Maybe they would finally see her. On Sunday, she dressed neatly and went home. The house looked brighter than ever, decorated with flowers and golden lights. Tasha was glowing, showing off her engagement ring. Their parents couldn't stop talking about how lucky she was, how proud they were. Dinner started with laughter, mostly about Tasha's upcoming wedding. Then her father cleared his throat and smiled warmly. "We've decided to give our daughters something special," he announced. A gift before Tasha's wedding. Amara's heart skipped. She sat straighter, hoping this was finally the moment they would recognize her effort. Her father handed Tasha a box. Inside were keys to a mansion. Your new home, sweetheart, her mother said proudly. You deserve it. You've made us so proud. Everyone clapped, cheering for Tasha. Then her father turned to Amara and smiled kindly, handing her a small envelope. And this is for you, Amara. A small token of our love and gratitude. She opened it. Inside was $5 and a folded note that said, "Thank you for being a good daughter." The room grew awkwardly silent for a moment, then someone laughed, and soon everyone joined in. "Oh, come on, Amara, it's just a joke," her mother said, waving her hand. Amara forced a weak smile and nodded. She didn't trust her voice enough to speak. Later that night, as she sat in her car outside the house, she thought about all the years she had tried to earn their love, the sleepless nights, the quiet prayers, the endless waiting. And for what? $5 and a thank you note. When she got home, Ryan called. He was her closest friend. Calm, kind, and honest. "How did it go?" he asked. She tried to laugh it off. "Same story," she said. "Tasha shines and I'm just there." "You don't have to keep proving your worth to people who refuse to see it," Ryan said softly. "You've always been enough, Amara. They just don't know how to value you." His words sank deep, quiet but comforting. That night, as she sat by her window, watching the city lights flicker in the distance, Amara whispered to herself, maybe love in this family was never unconditional. It was a painful thought, but also the beginning of something new. The inheritance dinner started with bright smiles and loud laughter. The whole family sat around the long dining table, covered with food and sparkling wine. Tasha sat at the center, glowing in a golden dress. Her fiancé sat proudly beside her, holding her hand. Their parents looked so happy, beaming with pride. Then Amara's father stood up, his face full of excitement. "Today is a special day," he began. "We want to give our daughters something from our hearts." Everyone fell silent. Amara's heart began to beat faster. Maybe, after all these years, this was the moment she would finally be seen. The moment her parents would show they cared. Her father reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. "Tasha, this is for you," he said. He opened it slowly, revealing shiny new house keys. "Your new home. Worth $1.3 million. You deserve it, my dear." The room filled with cheers and clapping. Her mother hugged Tasha tightly, tears in her eyes. "You've made us so proud," she said. "Our baby girl is getting married. You deserve the best." Amara smiled weakly, clapping along. Her chest ached, but she tried to hide it. Then her father turned toward her. "And now," he said cheerfully, "for our hard-working Amara." He handed her a small brown envelope. Everyone watched as she opened it carefully. Inside there was a $5 bill and a note that said, "Thank you for being a good daughter." The table went quiet for a few seconds. Then someone snorted, and laughter spread around the room. "It's just a little family joke," her mother said between laughs. "You know your father, he likes to play." Amara smiled faintly, though her lips trembled. "Of course," she whispered. "A joke." She folded the note, slipped it back into the envelope, and stood up slowly. "Excuse me," she said softly. "I need some air." No one stopped her. They were too busy laughing, too full of joy to notice her pain. Outside, the night air was cool. She got into her old car, her hands shaking on the steering wheel. She started the engine and began to drive. The streetlights passed one by one, blurring through her tears. Halfway down the road, she stopped the car. The world around her was quiet. No laughter, no noise, just the sound of crickets and her own heartbeat. She turned off the engine and sat still for a moment, staring at her hands. Then slowly, she opened the door, stepped out, and took off her shoes. The gravel was cool beneath her bare feet. She started walking, not sure where she was going, only that she needed to move. The road stretched out long and empty. Each step felt heavy, but freeing. The more she walked, the lighter her chest became. Her phone buzzed in her hand, a call from Ryan. She looked at the screen, then turned it face down. She couldn't talk right now. Not yet. She kept walking, her footsteps echoing softly in the night. The air smelled of dust and quiet freedom. In her voiceover, calm but full of emotion, she said, "I walked until the noise in my head went quiet, until I realized, maybe it wasn't them who owed me more, Maybe I owed myself everything. She kept walking, away from the house, away from the hurt, and toward something new, something hers. News spread quickly that Amara had stormed off from the family dinner. Her relatives whispered and neighbors gossiped. Her parents told everyone she had overreacted. It was just a harmless joke, her mother said with a laugh. You know how sensitive Amara can be. Her father added. She's always been too serious. She doesn't understand family humor. They laughed about it, pretending it was nothing. But deep inside, Amara's absence left a quiet emptiness in their home. Days passed. Amara didn't call, didn't visit, didn't send a message. She stayed in her small apartment, keeping to herself. The pain was still there, but she refused to let it break her. Instead, she decided to do something different, something for herself. Using the little savings she had secretly kept over the years, Amara started working on her dream. She had always loved designing spaces, making small rooms feel warm and beautiful. Now, she began to turn that passion into a small business. She started offering home design services online, making flyers, and sharing pictures of her work. Ryan found her a few days later. He had been worried. When he knocked on her door and saw her surrounded by color samples and sketches, he smiled softly. You've been busy, he said. Amara looked up from her work, a small smile tugging at her lips. Busy keeps me sane, she replied. Ryan sat beside her and handed her a cup of tea. You know you don't have to prove anything to them, he said gently. You're enough, Amara. Always have been. She nodded, staring at her hands. I'm not trying to prove anything anymore, she said quietly. I'm just trying to build something that's mine, something no one can take away. Meanwhile, back at her parents' house, things were falling apart. The mansion they had proudly gifted to Tasha had brought more attention than they expected. An unexpected financial audit revealed unpaid taxes, false accounts, and hidden debts connected to her father's church and Tasha's luxury spending. The money that once seemed endless suddenly ran dry. Creditors began calling. The family's reputation started to crumble. Tasha's fiancé, who had always boasted about his wealth and connections, began acting distant. When the news of financial fraud surfaced, he panicked. I can't be part of a scandal, he said one evening, removing the engagement ring from Tasha's finger. This could ruin my career. Tasha cried, begged him to stay, but he walked away. Her perfect world, the mansion, the wedding, the attention, vanished overnight. Their parents were shocked. Her father tried to fix things, but the debt was too deep. Her mother, once proud and confident, now stayed up at night worrying. While their world was collapsing, Amara's was slowly growing. Her small business started to gain attention. A few clients loved her simple but beautiful designs. She worked hard, stayed focused, and for the first time in her life, felt free from trying to please anyone. She started journaling again, writing about her thoughts and dreams. Each morning, she looked in the mirror and whispered, "You are enough." The words felt strange at first, but each day, they felt more real. One evening, her phone rang. It was her mother. Amara, her mother's voice was sharp. So you've decided to cut us off completely? You walked away when your family needed you most. Amara took a deep breath. I didn't walk away because you needed me, she said calmly. I walked away because you never did. Her mother gasped. How dare you talk to me like that? We are your parents. Amara's voice was steady. You taught me that love has a price tag, Mom. I just couldn't afford it anymore. There was silence on the line for a long moment. Then her mother hung up without another word. Amara sat there for a while, staring at her phone. She didn't cry. Instead, she felt a strange sense of peace. For years, she had chased their love, trying to earn what should have been freely given. But now she was done chasing. Ryan stopped by later that night. He found her sitting by the window, her journal open beside her. Rough call, he asked gently. Amara smiled faintly. Not rough, she said. Just final. He nodded and sat beside her. You're stronger than you think, he said. She looked out at the city lights, her voice soft but sure. Maybe. But strength doesn't always feel like winning. Sometimes it just feels like letting go. The days went on. Her parents faced more problems, and Tasha tried reaching out once, sending a long message full of apologies and excuses. Amara read it, smiled sadly and didn't reply. Not out of anger, but because she was finally learning that not every pain needs to be revisited. Her heart was lighter, her steps steadier. The silence that once hurt now felt peaceful. And for the first time in her life, Amara wasn't invisible anymore. Not to the world, not to Ryan, and not to herself. 1 hour after Amara walked away from her parents' house, everything changed. It started with flashing lights and loud sirens outside the mansion. Neighbors rushed out to see what was happening. Police cars lined the street, and officers walked toward Tasha's fiancé, who was standing in the driveway, shouting in confusion. Within minutes, he was handcuffed and led away. The news spread fast. Tasha's fiancé had been arrested for business fraud. The company he managed was accused of money laundering, and the mansion her parents proudly gifted her was part of the investigation. The house, worth $1.3 million, had been bought using dirty money that passed through her father's church accounts. Inside the house, chaos broke out. Her mother was crying, shouting that there must be a mistake. Her father was on the phone, trying to reach lawyers, his voice trembling. Tasha sat on the floor, her perfect hair undone, tears running down her face. In 1 hour, the life they had built, the image of wealth and respect, came crashing down. By the next morning, the story was everywhere. Headlines flashed across social media. Local pastor and family under investigation for fraud and tax evasion. Pictures of the family dinner, the same one Amara had walked out of, were shared online. Videos of the police at their house spread quickly. People who once praised the family now whispered about their greed and hypocrisy. While the world talked, Amara sat quietly in her small apartment. She hadn't checked her phone all night. She was sitting by the window, watching the sunrise, her bare feet tucked under her. Her thoughts were still heavy with pain from the night before. Then her phone buzzed. It was a message from Ryan. Just one link, the news article, and a short message underneath. "You walked just in time." Amara clicked the link and read slowly. Every word felt like a cold shock. Her father's name. Her mother's picture. Tasha's tear-stained face. She didn't smile. She didn't feel revenge or joy. Instead, her eyes filled with tears. She pressed her hand to her mouth, trying to hold back a sob. This wasn't what she wanted. She had wished for peace, not punishment. She had longed for love, not their downfall. She turned off her phone and leaned her head against the window. The city outside was waking up. Cars honking, people hurrying to work, life moving on as if nothing had happened. But inside, her heart was breaking in a quiet, painful way. For years she had begged for their attention for a simple "we're proud of you." She had worked hard, hoping that love would be her reward. But now she realized, she had been chasing people who never truly saw her. Her tears fell freely. She wasn't crying because they lost everything. She was crying because she finally understood how much she had lost trying to please them. Ryan called a few minutes later. When she answered, her voice was soft. "You saw the news?" he asked gently. "Yes," she whispered. "I saw." "I'm sorry," he said. "I know this must hurt." Amara nodded, wiping her eyes. "It does," she admitted. "But not for the reasons I thought it would. I don't hate them, Ryan. I just feel sad. Sad that it had to come to this before I could finally let go." There was silence for a while. Then Ryan said softly, "You did the right thing, Amara. You walked away before their world collapsed. That took strength." She closed her eyes. "It didn't feel like strength then," she said. "It felt like breaking." "But sometimes," Ryan replied, "breaking is the first step to healing." Amara didn't answer. She just listened to his voice and let the silence fill the space between them. Outside, the sunlight began to touch her face. For the first time in a long while, she felt something small but real: peace. Her family's name would be dragged through the news for weeks. Reporters would uncover lies, missing funds, and years of deceit. Tasha would lose her fiancé, her mansion, and the perfect image she had built. And Amara? She would quietly rebuild her own life, not out of anger, but out of love for herself. She whispered softly to herself, "I didn't walk away to punish them. I walked away to save me." And with that, she closed her eyes, letting her tears fall one last time. Not for them, but for the little girl inside her who had waited too long to be loved. Months later, Amara finally launched her interior design business. She named it Haven Spaces, a name that reflected the peace she had found within herself. Her designs were simple, calm, and beautiful. focused on minimalist homes that made people feel safe and free. At first, things moved slowly. She worked from her small apartment, using her dining table as a desk. But soon, word spread about her unique style and warm personality. Clients began to trust her, and her business grew. One morning, she woke up to a surprise. Her picture was on the cover of a local lifestyle magazine. The headline read, "From Rejection to Reinvention, Amara's Journey to Self-Made Success." She smiled as she read the article. It told her story honestly, the pain, the betrayal, and the strength it took to rebuild. But instead of feeling angry about the past, Amara felt thankful. Everything that had broken her had also made her stronger. Ryan was there through it all. He didn't try to take credit or push her forward too quickly. He was her quiet supporter, the person who believed in her even when she doubted herself. They spent evenings talking about dreams, laughing over coffee, and sharing comfortable silences. Something gentle was growing between them. Not rushed, not forced, just real. Meanwhile, her parents' lives had changed completely. The investigations had ended, but their reputation was ruined. They had lost almost everything: the mansion, the cars, the respect of the community. For the first time, they lived quietly, away from the spotlight. One day, Amara received a call from her father. His voice sounded tired and soft. "Amara," he said, "your mother and we'd like to see you. We know we failed you. Please come home." Amara thought about it for a long time. Finally, she decided to go. Not to argue, but to find closure. When she arrived at their small rented home, her mother's eyes filled with tears. "Amara," she said, her voice trembling, "we're sorry. We see now how wrong we were." Her father nodded slowly. "You were always the strong one. We just didn't see it in time." Amara listened quietly. She wasn't angry anymore. The pain that once burned inside her had turned into calm understanding. "I'm not here to blame you," she said softly. "You gave Tasha the mansion. I built my piece from the ground up." Her parents looked at her, speechless. There was nothing left to say. Amara stood up, smiled gently and added, "I forgive you. But I'm not coming back. I finally have a home. Not made of bricks or money, but of peace. And I can't lose that again." Her mother began to cry. Her father lowered his head. Amara didn't stay to comfort them this time. She had already made peace with her past. As she walked away, the evening sun painted the sky gold. Her steps were light, her heart steady. For the first time, she didn't need anyone's approval. She had found her own. Freedom, she realized, wasn't about walking away. It was about never looking back with regret. Amara was walking again, but this time, not away from pain. She was walking toward peace. The evening air was cool, the sky painted with soft shades of orange and gold. She carried her shoes in her hands, her bare feet touching the quiet road, just like before. But this walk felt different. There was no sadness now, no weight in her chest. Her face was calm, her lips curved in a small, peaceful smile. Ahead of her was her own small home. Simple, warm, and filled with the life she built from nothing. As she reached the gate, her voice played softly in the background, steady and full of meaning. "They gave her keys. They gave me distance. And in that distance I found myself." She opened the door and stepped inside. The lights came on, bathing the little room in a soft glow. There were plants by the window, her favorite books stacked neatly on a shelf, and one of her own designs hanging on the wall. A reminder of how far she had come. She took a deep breath and looked around. Everything here was hers, not bought with someone else's approval, not given as a gift, but earned with courage and faith. For a moment, she stood quietly, letting the silence wrap around her. It wasn't empty anymore. It was full of peace, full of freedom. She smiled again, set her shoes by the door and whispered, "I'm home." Then she turned off the outside light, closing the door gently behind her. The screen faded slowly, leaving just her calm face under the warm light, strong, content-free. Her voice echoed one last time, soft but powerful. "Sometimes walking away is the only way home." Ibas Diaz. Two Hearts, thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more amazing stories. See you in the next one. Bye. Waving Hand Sparkles.